Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. We have talked about my debt. We have talked about my bills, my monthly bills, and this video I more so want to go over my financial goals, basically, my paying off debt plan. Now, this plan, something that I always do is I have a journal, right? And when I have goals or plans, I write them in this journal. And all of my journal entries always start with Yahuwah because, listen, I have learned to not do things without the guidance and the approval of the Most High because I've learned from my mistakes of trying to do things on my own that it does not work out that way. It does not work out that way. Trying to do things on your own without the Most High, you're going to fail every time. And it's never going to work out the way that you want it to work out. And a lot of times I've had to tell myself, you need to give up your wants for the will of the Most High. So that is how I'm going to go into paying off these debts. So I did write down a plan. Um, Based off of the debts that I have. So I'm not including my student loans in this. So I currently have 5. I have 5 smaller debts, and then I have my student loans. We're not going to even worry about that right now because I am making payments on those. It's $10 a month, which by the grace of the Most High, because I was just like, when they sent me that email and told me that my loan payments were going to be $232 a month, I was like, $232 where? Because Moniqua does not have $232 a month. I do not. I do not have an extra $232 to go towards student loans when I have these other debts and my household bills. Now, could I make it work? Yes, but I'd be stretched very thin. The 5 debts that I have are my 2 401k loans, uh, my Upstart loan that I just took out, my security system that I had, and a medical bill. Okay, so one thing that I know for sure is that the medical bill was my doing. At that time that I had a procedure done, I did not have health insurance. I think my health insurance was cut off a couple days before. Um, yeah, before I had the procedure done. And it was a procedure that did not need to be done. I'm not going to get into details of that, but that was something of my own doing. I was being very sinful. Okay. I was just going to say that I was being very sinful. And this is the ramifications of that. So I'm still having to pay that. And because I haven't been able to pay that debt, I can no longer go to those facilities to get like medical care. And that was like my favorite place to go for like my primary care doctor. Like I always went there, but that was my own doing because I wanted to live in sin. That's what it was. So I wrote down 2 questions. How do I attack these? And how do you want me to tackle them? And so I wrote down that I know for the first 401k loan, I have only a few payments left. And the second one will be paid off next year, I think in August. And so I asked, should I pay the second one off or let the interest accrue? Don't know yet. The debt for the security system, um, like I said in my last video, that is a debt that I don't feel like I should have to pay because I was going to give the equipment back. They just didn't want to take it back. And so I'm really upset because that's $720. And I don't want to pay that because it's like, that's not fair. It's not. And the fact that it went to collections, that's the other part of it. Because I'm just like, why can't y'all just take the equipment back? Had I known ahead of time, I would have went with a different alarm system than the one that I went with. Um, but uh, that company is Vivint, by the way. Just want to put that out there. Yeah, I would not have gone with them, and I would not recommend them. Now, this was in 20. When did I move? This is from 2017 to 2019 that I had this security system, and I remember distinctly taking it off the wall, everything, and calling them, and they were like, "Well, we can't accept the equipment. We don't take equipment back. However, you do have to pay for it." And I do remember arguing with the person on the phone because I'm just like, "No, no, I don't want to keep this." And then I end up throwing it away. I'm just like, "That's a waste. Somebody else could have used this equipment." So there's that, but we're not going to dwell on that. So, what the Most High has answered me, and a lot of times when I journal and I'm asking questions, I'll continue to write and I end up writing the answer, and it's like, oh, thank you. Sometimes He does not answer that quickly, but a lot of times when it's something like simple, He'll answer really quick. I don't know. I don't know how the Most High works, okay? All I know is that a lot of times when He journals, in my journal entries, I will have questions and answers. Now, this is not, like all the time, but like a lot of the time, He does answer when it's just a real simple answer. And this is a real simple answer, right? So the thing to do first is to tackle my debts that I am currently making monthly payments on, the ones that are required to be paid. So for both of my 401k loans, those come out of my paycheck off top because it is through my job. So they take that money out. Like I don't ever see I don't see that money, okay? I don't. The money that hits my bank account, I don't see that money for my 401k loans. Um, so one is 55 something, and the other one's 22 something. And then for the Upstart loan, I don't start making payments on that until July 4th because that's when I just took out, and it's $50 a month. So pay those off first. Pay the ones off first that I am required to pay that's already coming out of my bank account because that's on auto pay. So once those are paid off, then I would take the amount of those all together, which I think is like 100, um, and like $107, $108, and move that towards paying off Vivint. Now, with Vivint, I will probably make payments per month anyway, so that once my 401k loans and my Upstart loans are paid off, then I will just, make the payment higher. I'm not going to wait until next August to pay off my 401k loan, even though I know that it will accrue a lot of interest between now and then. It's like at the same time, I kind of need that money back in my paycheck now to pay off these other things. So that is the goal for the things that I'm currently paying. Now, like I said, once I pay those off, I will make payments towards Vivint. Then I'll make payments toward my medical bill. Now, these student loans, child, listen, I'm just like, man, it's one of those things I'm just dreading because let me tell you something. Let me be honest. Let me be honest. I tried to pray away the student loans, right? I, you know, was talking to the Most High over the past few years, like, can you make these student loans go away? Right? And in each presidential election, they were promising, to get rid of student debt. And I was praying and praying and praying. Let me tell you something. I don't vote. Okay. I don't vote. I don't participate in politics. I don't do none of that. Don't. So I was like praying, but I'm just like, at the end of the day, like, I know they're not going to make student loans go away. That's just a ploy to get people to vote for them. I'm not getting suckered into that. So I was praying and praying. And then I realized, like, no, Maniqua, you took out those loans even though you didn't have the financial literacy and knowledge to know that these are loans you have to pay back and how this is going to hang over your head for I don't know how many years. I graduated college in 2011, okay? But it's like you graduated, you got the degree, you did the time, the 4 years, okay? You used the money, you gonna pay that back. Now, granted, my student loans was much higher than it is now, but a couple things happened. There was a student loan that I actually paid off myself. I had several before I consolidated them. The one that I have now is two loans. I think I have like six or seven. I have to look at my credit report to see how many there were, and I'll put that on the screen. But I paid a few of those off, and then right after college, well, not right after, maybe a couple years after, I worked for a nonprofit organization. And if you completed that year, they would give you like, I think it was like $5,600 to go either go back to college, go towards tuition, or to go towards paying off your student loans. They went towards student loans because I was not going back to college. I was not going to get an extra degree. Now, that's not to say that I haven't thought about going back to college and getting a master's degree in English. It's still a thought. It's still something that I'm just like, I really want to do, but financially, that is not smart to do right now. It's not. And what I would do with that degree, probably teach. Um, probably teach maybe on a college level. Would not teach high school. No, would not. Now, just so you know, I do have a teacher certification. I am certified to teach in the state of Texas. I am currently not teaching. I used to. I don't know if I would go back to that unless it would be like an elective to teach journalism. And I'm just like, maybe I should do that because I would get paid a lot more than what I'm getting paid right now. And that would help me to fast track these goals. However, I'm not doing anything outside of the will of the Most High. I can't. Because with teaching, that's how I ended up having health issues that I have now from the stress. Okay, I developed high blood pressure, and that's why I quit teaching because it was very, very stressful. And my current job is a very low stress job. Actually, it's a no stress job. Let's just say that all the work that I do for my job has to be done within the 8 hours that I am there. There's no work to be done outside of that. Whereas with teaching, it's just like I was constantly stressed about it. I still have dreams of the school that I was teaching at last. Still have those dreams. And I'm like, why am I having these dreams? I'm not teaching anymore. I have not had the urge or inclination to go back to teaching. That's not something that the Most High has, been pushing me to do. Now it could be that I teach in a different capacity. Could be, teaching through YouTube or something like that. But as far as going back into a classroom, no. I mean, y'all, having been a teacher and being inside the education system as a teacher and not as a student, you see things, you hear things, you know things. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't. So, um, yeah, I thought about going back to school to get a master's in English. And I also thought about going back to school to get a master's in journalism. But that's just a thought. Okay. It's just a thought. I'm not trying to get in more debt than I'm already in. I don't, no, we're not going to do that. So, student loans, I'm going to pay them off. I am. I don't want to, but I did the time. So now I have to pay. All right. Now, with that being said, once I pay my student loans off and I have no more debts, I currently do not have a goal for that. I don't have a plan for what life is going to look like without having debt because I haven't lived without having debt in my whole entire adult life. Now, I didn't have debt before I turned 18 because I was living at home, right? You don't have debts. But then I turned 18 and then um, actually in college, I did not get a credit card. My first credit card was like way after college. So I didn't have any debts in college, right? So it was like after I graduated, I was like, huh. And then that grace period ended. It's like, oh, you have to pay your student loans back. What? Now? I don't have a job that's paying enough. when I worked for that nonprofit organization, I was not making enough money. I was also living at home, right? I was living at home because I first started working at Macy's, making minimum wage, and then I started working at um, this business card company, which I actually really loved working at that company. That was, oh, it's fantastic. That was probably my favorite job that I have ever had. And it was a job that was related to the degree that I had. So was still not making enough money there, was living at home. And then I worked for the nonprofit, and then I worked for another nonprofit, still not making enough money. Like, y'all, I'm not broke now. I'm not going to claim that. But for a lot of my life, before I started teaching back in 2016, I was broke. I was very broke. And I was struggling, could not keep up with my bills, even though I lived at home. I had a car payment, like, and I don't even know how. I do know how. I had credit cards. Yes, I had, I think I got two or three credit cards from my bank. Each of them were $5,000, maxed all of them out. I got personal loans from my bank, maxed that out, and all of it went to collections. Majority of my debts that I've already paid off have gone to collections, and I was able to settle on those accounts and pay less than what the actual balance was. So, yeah, I'm not trying to deal with collections anymore. I currently have two debts in collections, and that was why I took out that loan, that Upstart loan, to pay off my one of my medical bills and my credit card, because those both were on their way to collections. I had already received the notice like, "Hey, you missed so many payments. These are about to go to collection." I was like, "Can't do that. Cannot." So those are my financial goals. I do not want to be in debt any longer. We are not supposed to be the borrower, we're supposed to be the lender. And that is the whole point of this series on talking about financial literacy. And not even just financial literacy, but just getting out of debt and how to steward our finances better than what we've been doing. We should not be in debt. We are under all these curses. And my whole point is like, how do I get out from under them? That is my goal right now. How to get out from under all these curses, because I don't want this anymore. I don't want this for my life. I have repented for my sins, the sins of my ancestors. I have repented, and I am working towards being obedient and in alignment with the Most High, so that these curses no longer have a chokehold on me. I am no longer under the yoke of these curses. I don't want to be. And debt is the biggest one. Like, y'all, when you are in debt, it keeps you from doing so many things. And bump a credit score, I don't care about that. Like, I really don't. Because my goal is not to have a house, right? My goal, as far as like living situation, a tiny home or an RV. Those are my two options. I don't want a house. I don't want a stationary house, because no, okay? I am a resident alien. I am a pilgrim on this earth, on this current earth. I don't need to set up shop here. That is not my job. I don't want to do that. So, and plus, this is not our land. I don't want to do that. So, let me stop there before I go on a whole tangent. But yeah, a credit score, that's not something I too much care about. I don't. I get the notifications because I used to be so into having a credit score, because it was more so, if I have a good credit score, I can have better approval ratings, or approval chances rather, to get loans or credit cards or things like that. I'm not trying to get either one of those anymore. Even though I just took out a loan, I want that to be it. Like, that's it. The only loans that I take out are for my 401k, period. So I'm trying to get to that point of like financial stability. Financial stability. And I'm trying to steward things here, so when it comes to the kingdom, I can be over a lot. That is the point. And I think about the people in the Bible who had money, who wanted for nothing: Abraham, Lot, Job, Solomon, David. All these people wanted for nothing, right? And when I say Bible, I'm specifically talking about the Old Testament. Like, I just want to put that disclaimer out there. That's kind of where I stay is the Old Testament. And I think about all of them who just had money and they was rich and like they wanted for nothing, you know? And it's like, I don't want to be rich. That is not a goal of mine. No, I don't care about being rich, but I do not want to be oppressed any longer with these finances. That's what I don't want. But I want to be able to be in a space to where I don't have to want for anything like my ancestors. I don't. So that is all I have for y'all about how I'm going to tackle this debt with the help of the Most High. Now, as far as finances go, it will be from my paycheck that from my job, and then once my son goes with his dad for the rest of the summer, I am going to do Uber Eats and DoorDash. I may do Uber, right? Specifically, just picking up women because people are weird. People are weird. Men are weird. Okay, I know women are weird too, but just picking up women, taking them, wherever they're gonna go. But I may do that because that will give me a little more money than Uber Eats does. Because Uber Eats, y'all, it's more money than what I have now. Okay, but in order to hit these financial goals, I need to make a little more money, but also steward the money that I get from my job. So that is the plan. And we're going to see how this goes. We're going to see how this goes. So that is all that I have for y'all.